Welcome to the Kill Shot MMA podcast for UFC Vancouver, your main event, Rainier de Ritter and Brendan Allen. What's up, everybody? I am Sniper for DFS Army. As you can see, I'm rolling solo today. Monk is on the road, so just you and me breaking down all fights on this card. We're going to talk picks. We're going to talk DraftKings strategy. Going to break it all down. Do me a favor. Smash that like button. Share with your friends. I'll move my big head over in a second, and we'll break these things down. Had a pretty good week last week. We pretty much nailed everything except Hamosh totally selling against Konofly. Had a decent card. Could have been great if it was not for that. But that is last week. It's time to get to today. So one more time before I move over, hit the like button. If you want to join up at DFS Army for more picks, breakdowns, use of the Domination Station Optimizer tool, and MMA and all sports, link down below in the description. Make sure you check that out. And here we go, guys. Let's break it all down. Let's start with the first fight of the night, Melissa Croden and Tainara Lisboa. Croden is the favorite, minus 119. Pretty much a pick 'em. Minus 101 is the comeback on Lisboa. Your fight goes to decision prop. Is a minus 180, so leaning towards 3 rounds of action here. While Croden is the favorite, the line is moved. Lisboa opened up as the favorite, so she's 8,400. She's more expensive. Croden is 7,800. Not a lot of interest in this fight overall. You got Lisboa, who's 2-1 in the UFC. Wins over Jessica Rose Clark and Ravena Oliveira, who we're going to talk about later. Not the highest caliber wins. Lost to Luana Santos. Croden making her UFC debut, coming over from LFA. It's really hard to gauge based on UFC competition. I don't rate Lisboa very highly. Croden is the younger fighter. She's 10 years younger. She looks better. She looks to be on the come up here. I think she's going to be able to stop the takedowns of Lisboa, and that is where she's going to be able to take over. I think she's more well-rounded. And really, that's why the line is moved this way. And regardless, I'm going to be not highly exposed to this fight. This is an interesting card in that there's some real straightforward overexposure spots and some real straightforward underexposure spots in terms of cards, in terms of fights for DraftKings. This one, I agree with the line movement. I think it's going to get more pronounced. I think Croden's going to end up being chalk odds value on the card. I don't hate eating that chalk because I do think she wins, but overall I'll be under to the fight. So I definitely want to be under on Lisboa. Croden's about field weight, probably going to be a cash game play because she's going to get major odds value, and I do think she is a little bit better overall. Well, just me writing solo tonight, so no one to argue with me. Could be a little bit quicker of a podcast. We'll have tons of opinions. One more plug for DFS Army. There's 4 coaches writing notes. We talk more about the fights pretty much all week long. After weigh-ins, we do our adjustments. For example, on the podcast recorded on Tuesday, we did not know about the Almeida Aswell situation. We saw Almeida's hand, and the sports books must have lost a ton of money because it was clearly broken. We cashed bets. We went overweight on Aswell after a bit of hemming and hawing about whether the commission will let him fight, and we did nail that fight in the end. So all that stuff happens later in the week, so make sure you're joined up over at DFS Army. I can do the plug because this is going to be a relatively short podcast despite 13 fights on this card. Next up, we got Azamat Bekoev and Yousri Belgaroui. And Monk's not here to save me with names, not that he does anyway. Bekoev is minus 290. Belgaroui is plus 245. Apologies for the names. I am destroying that. Fight ends inside the distance, minus 250 for this one. So it should be a good one to target for GPPs. Except for this one, going to be a little bit more lopsided than the inside the distance prop would indicate because I'm very high on Bekoev, who is 9,100. Belgaroui is 7,100. Bekoev becomes one of my favorite plays in that 9K range. Real quick, looking at UFC stats, yes, he lost to Belgaroui lost to Marco Tulio and beat Taiga Iwasaki. 2 Contender Series fights, 1-1. I don't rate him very highly. Whereas Bekoev, on the other hand, Zachary Reese is turning out to be a halfway decent win. not the worst thing out there. Whereas Ryan Loder, I don't rate him terribly highly, but Bekoev ran through him. He's a big striking middleweight. He can get takedowns. He can do a little bit of it all. And I do not rate Belgaroui very high. I think there's tons of upside here, especially in the 9K range. There's a couple guys you want to target, but this is one for 9,100. I think point per dollar. He is my favorite play on the card. And highlight Azamat Bekoev. I'm only going to run back field weight Belgaroui because I'm going to be overexposed to Bekoev. Don't get it twisted. Bekoev, one of my favorite plays on the card. Minus 300, I think, is live for parlays. If you want to do that, if you want to build those kind of accumulators, as my British friends would say, definitely just think Bekoev goes out and smashes. He, to me, is the much better prospect here. Azamat Bekoev for the win. Next fight, let's talk Stephanie Luciano and Ravena Oliveira. Luciano minus 280. Oliveira is plus 240. Fight goes to decision, minus 260. That is a big old number. Minus 260 is massive. Your DraftKings salaries for this one. Luciano comes in as the second most expensive fighter on the card at 9,300. Oliveira is 6,900. If you've watched these podcasts before, you picked up on strategy. This is no exception. I think the line is too wide, and mostly I'll have this fight minus 260 to go to decision. Even if you think Luciano wins, Oliveira becomes a phenomenal cash game play. She becomes the #1 cash game punt on the card. Period. End of story. You're going to need cheap fighters. I'd rather play her over anybody cheap, over Silva, over Belgaroui, over Djorden Santos, over Kyle Prepolec. Oliveira is the punt on this card for cash games, period. And I'm going to go ahead and pick her straight out. I do think this line is too wide. And the more I say it, I don't know if I can pick her. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do it. Look, Luciano is okay. Her last few fights, she is 1-1 in the UFC, draw on Contender Series, avenged her draw against Talita Alankar. All right. Sam Hughes took her down a bunch, split decision loss. That's a decent loss in the UFC. Sam Hughes, not a world beater, but she's solid. Alankar, she ended up knocking, got a knockdown in that fight. She got decent volume. I'm not totally sold on her takedown defense. I know it's 80%, but Sam Hughes went 3 for 8. You can get takedowns here. And Ravena Oliveira, that's all she's going to want to do. Yes, she lost to Tainara Lisboa, who we talked about earlier. She hasn't fought in 2 years. I do believe she's making improvements. She's going to look for takedowns. I think the path is there. She can get takedowns. Even if Luciano gets back up, I think Oliveira's got a path to get some takedowns. 3 rounds of action means Luciano's going to be real tough for Luciano to pay off her price tag. And I think she's got a hole in that. It's what Oliveira wants to do. So is it a super confident dog pick? No, but I do think the value is on Oliveira. I know the cash game value is there. And 9,300, that's hard to pay off in GPPs. The DraftKings leaning point me toward Ravena Oliveira here. She's very one-dimensional. It is a low-level fight, but that's the breakdown for this one. Let's go talk about the most expensive fighter on the card in Drew Dober taking on Kyle Prepolec. Dober's minus 550. Prepolec is plus 400. Fight ends inside the distance, a healthy minus 200. As I mentioned, Drew Dober is the most expensive fighter on the card, coming in at 9,400. Prepolec is 6,800. Let's remind you who Kyle Prepolec is. Now look, props to him. Second run in the UFC because he took a short notice fight against Benoit Saint-Denis. Terrible matchup. Before that, lost to Nordine Taleb and Austin Hubbard. Both Taleb was a problem in this division for a little while. And Hubbard, he got taken down. He got taken down against Saint-Denis. He's not going to have that trouble against Drew Dober. The problem is, it's Drew Dober. Yes, Dober's lost his last 3. That's Manuel Torres, Jan Silva, Renato Moicano. Beat Ricky Glenn, lost to Matt Frevola, which, by the way, Frevola's not a bad loss. Before that, beat King Green, beat Rafael Alves. Like, he can beat the guys. He beats the guys he's supposed to beat. And that's what Kyle Prepolec is. If they're going to stand and trade, I definitely think that Drew Dober is going to get the best of it. I don't think the Prepolec is going to be able to get takedowns in this fight. He may look for him because that's probably his path to victory. I don't think he gets him. I think Dober outclasses him. I think this is the UFC getting Dober a get-right spot because of the monsters he's been fighting. I think he gets a win here. The odds agree. The DraftKings salary plus the odds indicates that Drew Dober is a solid play. I might run back a little tiny bit, just a little bit, of Kyle Prepolec, and it won't take much to be field weight, and that's probably what I'll target here because he has been chin checked before, against Frevola, against Manuel Torres. I think before that he'd been pretty durable. So just in case the 5% Prepolec that he's going to be rostered, I'll roster that too. I like Drew Dober again in that 9K range. There's not a ton of fighters I'm jumping out of my chair to roster. We already talked about Luciano. Bekoev is one of them. I'm not high on Danny Barlow. We'll talk about that in a minute or have concerns there. So even though Dober's the most expensive fighter at 9,400, he is someone I am going to look to be minimum field weight on. And I feel like he's pretty safe. I don't think Prepolec gets a win here. I have a hard time seeing that one. Let's move on to Danny Barlow, who we just talked about, and Djorden Ribeiro. Barlow, minus 300. Ribeiro, plus 250. Fight ends inside the distance, minus 180. So expecting a finish here. Your DraftKings salary, Barlow is expensive at 9,200. Djorden Santos is 7,000. Now, immediately, Danny Barlow is, look, I was all about Sam Patterson in this fight. I thought it was a bad matchup. But he's not high volume. Like, 47 significant strikes against Nikolai Veretennikov is not a good look. And getting sparked by Sam Patterson. Okay. Before that, beat Josh Quinlan and knocked out Raheem Forrest. Raheem Forrest has not gotten back into the show. Quinlan, his one win was against Jason Witt. And that was a 57-year-old Jason Witt. All right, hyperbole there, but rough to see in the UFC, him back. This guy that we're looking at, Danny Barlow, left-handed guy at minus 300, I'm a little bit concerned. And because he is also low volume, if he doesn't get him out of there in the first round, I don't know if he's going to pay off. Oops, didn't mean to click on Sam Patterson. Santos, on the other hand, look, Will Curry, Ozzy Diaz. It's hard to know what to make of him either. He's been in a couple of firefights, 86% takedown defense. I don't think he's going to need that against Danny Barlow. I think he's live here, especially we just saw Danny Barlow get viciously knocked out. I do think Danny Barlow is better and going to be able to maintain range. I'm more worried about the scoring. So I'm going to pick Danny Barlow straight up. I do think he's better, but I'm worried about the volume to reiterate. So how do you play this fight? I don't think you play either guy in cash game. I think Barlow, I'm going to take a risk here and be field or under, and I'm going to go a little bit overweight on Santos. This is one of those, he makes for a better DraftKings play than a pick. If he wins, he likely smashes. Danny Barlow's got plenty of paths to win that don't end up on the optimal lineup, especially at 9,200. Moving on and moving out, we got Hyun Sung Park and Bruno Silva. The flyweights are in action. Park is minus 255. Silva is plus 215. Fight ends inside the distance, minus 140. So about a little more than 50-50. As you can see, the other lines here, over 1.5 is minus 200 and change. So they're really expecting this to be a late finish for Park, is what the lines would indicate we're going to get here. Your DraftKings salaries, Park is 9,000, Silva is 7,200. If we do our past fight and look in here, Park was on a nice little run against the lower end of the division here. He won his way in via road to UFC, then beat Shannon Ross quickly and beat Carlos Hernandez quickly. Then got run over by Tatsuro Taira. That's nothing. I'm not too worried about it. Like, Taira went to split decision against Brandon Royval at the very top of this division. Bruno Silva, on the other hand, he's very similar. He's a very up and down career. Couple losses, 4 straight wins against Bays, Rodriguez, Nam, Djorden, then back-to-back losses against the top of the division in Kopp and Van. And he's been knocked out in 2 straight fights. That being said, what this comes down to is, for me, Silva's got 60% takedown defense. Yes, he's going, he's a sub-threat, but I don't think he's anything that Hyun Sung Park can't defend. I don't think he's going to present enough issues. Flyweights projected to end inside the distance is interesting. I think Park will be able to weather any storm, get takedowns, score pretty well. I think he's got the wrestling advantage. And again, I think that's what the fight comes down to. I'm going to probably go underweight on Silva because there's a couple other fighters I like better, especially at flyweight. Like, I don't think he's going to be able to knock out Park. If he does, I'll probably eat it a little bit. I'm not going to fade him, but Park is one of the ones that I do like. The underdog plays that I like are kind of around this range, but I want to pay. I'd rather play Djorden Santos and Ravena Oliveira than Bruno Silva just based on price. And then, I still got to worry about Brendan Allen, Davey Grant, who hinted I'm about to pick straight up later. There's just other places to go, and you can't play everyone. So Park is by far my preferred option in this one. And I actually think he's okay for cash games. I'd rather play him than, Luciano and Barlow, obviously, and Fiorot. So if you end up in this range, I think Park is an okay cash game play as well. Let's move on. Feature prelim time. Charles Jourdain, Davey Grant. Hey, good. Hint, hint. A little bit of foreshadowing. Don't got to wait too long. Jourdain is the favorite, minus 173. Dangerous Davey Grant is plus 148. It is risky picking against Jourdain in his native Canada. Minus 160 to go to decision for this one. Your DraftKings salaries. Jourdain is 8,700. Davey Grant is 7,500. Look, because that goes to decision number, I really think that Davey Grant, even if you don't pick him, not picking him, I do think he's the better DraftKings play pretty clearly. Like, Jourdain is not going to do a ton scoring wise. He got a submission here against Ricardo Ramos, decision where he's 80 significant strikes against Kron Gracie. Like, he tends to, the Andre Ewell fight, he had pretty good volume, but overall, he's not a great volume guy. He can get taken down. Davey Grant is really good at mixing it up. It's why I like Davey Grant in this fight. I think he's a little more varied, and I think Davey Grant, he will take the win however the fight comes. He's better standing up, typically, but he can get up to, he submitted Rafael Assunção. Split decision loss over to Daniel Marcus. I think he should be in a fight winning streak. Really, since the losses to Vera and Yanez, he's looked really good. His stand-up is good. He can defend takedowns. I really was impressed with the Damon Blackshear win. I rate him pretty highly. Like, he's gotten takedowns in the past when he needs them. Like, he's taken down a Martin Day. He's got a win over Jonathan Martinez, who's been up at the top of this division. The worry about Davey Grant, to kind of put a bow on, I know I'm just reading back old results. Mostly, I think Davey Grant is more well-rounded. And wherever he has advantage against Jourdain, I think he's going to be able to dictate where this fight happens. The worry on Davey Grant is he is getting older. He is slowing down. He is, 2 weeks younger than me. So he's about to be 40. 40-year-old bantamweights, that is scary. That is a scary situation. So while I think he's better, the slowdown is going to happen naturally. Regardless, I don't think Jourdain's going to put up a big number and get a finish. But I think Davey Grant's skill for skill is in his career has been better, and I think he can dictate where the fight goes. It's a risky pick for the reason I outlined, but I'm going to put my faith and trust one more time in dangerous Davey Grant. Main card time, we talked about him earlier. It's Matt Frevola and Kyle Nelson. Pick 'em fight, pretty much. Slight lean towards Frevola. Have the books minus 115, minus 105, somewhere in that ballpark, but pretty much a split. Fight ends inside the distance, minus 210. And there are two fights like this. The two mid-range fights are slam dunk fights to go damn near all in on. This one, Frevola is 8,300. Kyle Nelson is 7,900. I love me some steamroller in this spot. Yes, so I got to put out the bias just to be straight up. He is a Long Island guy. I am a Long Island guy. He's lost fights to Farazian, Benoit, Saint-Denis. Arman Sarukian. 3 losses, guys, at the very top of this division. And Terrence McKinney is just a wild, puts out a firefight. He got caught early in the first 7 seconds. The win over Dober is a great win. Look, he beats the guys that he should beat and loses the guys towards the top of the division, barring, 7 years ago against Marco Polo Reyes. Like, I think just he's better than Kyle Nelson. Kyle Nelson fighting in Canada has looked good, but he's beat Bill Algeo, who's, I think, on the back half, Fernando Padilla, Blake Builder. To me, not any really impressive wins here. The impressive win he had he lost to Billy Quarantillo. I don't know. People are going to do the MMA math and say, well, he beat Marco Polo Reyes and Frevola lost to him. That was 7 years ago. I think it's I know it's a different fight. MMA math doesn't always work like that. Usually doesn't work like that. I will target a little bit of both sides, but I'm going to be way over on Frevola. I think he's got more power than Nelson. I think he can mix in the wrestling better than Nelson. I think his BJJ is better than Kyle Nelson. Kyle Nelson is probably the more durable fighter from what we've seen. And if this goes late, he might be able to get Frevola to gas out a little bit. Nelson, I think his gas tank has been pretty good. But skill for skill, I'm on the Frevola side. I think it's a get-right spot. He's used to going into enemy territory. He went into France to fight for Azamat. He went into France, I believe, to fight Benoit Saint-Denis. Yes, he lost both those fights. Kyle Nelson in Canada. It's hometown advantage. It's nothing crazy. I think Frevola's the play here. He is my preferred side. Don't mind him in all formats. Definitely risky in cash, but of the mid-range guys, one more time, I got to ride with the steamroller. Just think skill for skill. He's going to get it done here. All right, let's move on. Cody Gibson and Aoriqileng. Cody Gibson, minus 160. Aoriqileng is plus 140. Fight goes to decision is minus 150, so you lose a little bit of DraftKings credit right there. DraftKings salaries, Gibson's 8,600, Aoriqileng is 7,600. I wrote in my notes that both these guys have pretty spotty UFC careers, the best way to put it, and you can see there's just wins, losses going both ways. Cody Gibson had 8 years between UFC stints. He's got a couple wins over Kelleher and Helliger. Aoriqileng on the other side has got some no contest, some wins against bottom level competition, loses to the top guys. So it's spotty is the best. I mean, how I put it, I think it's the best way to put it. For me, similar to what we said earlier, I think Gibson's wrestling is going to be the difference here. Aoriqileng's got 58% takedown defense. Cody Gibson, on the other hand, took down Damon Blackshear, took down Ann Helliger 5 times, took down Kelleher twice, took down Miles Johns once. Miles Johns, straight up wrestler. I think Gibson, the biggest discrepancy in the fight is going to be the grappling, I think, and I give it to Gibson. I think Gibson's got more volume on the feet as well. I will say Aoriqileng is the more likely to get some type of violent knockout. This is one I'm probably going to be about field weight across the board. I'm pretty vanilla. I think there's some upside on both sides. I don't have a super strong take, but I do think overall, stylistically, the fight favors Cody Gibson. So that's where I'm going to go for the pick. I will say, I have to say his cash game viable here too, because in his range is Lisboa, no thanks in cash. Zahabi we'll talk about, no thanks in cash. Charles Jourdain, we just talked about. Those are the 3 fighters right around him, and he's the best cash game option of those 4. He's better a cash game option in my mind than Manon Fiorot. Not better than Reinier de Ridder, but we'll talk about that. But he's in the mix, just in that top. That kind of gives you an idea. And I'm going to be interested in the ownership at DFS Army again to make sure you get access to all those tools. Make sure and subscribe. Check it out. I want to see what the ownership is going to be, because if it's only going to take me 25% to get over the field on Cody Gibson, sign me up. He might come in that 15 to 20% range. If he does, I'll probably be overweight. So there's the breakdown. I'm going to go with Cody Gibson for this one. Let's talk Manon Fiorot and Jasmine Jasudavicius. Fiorot is minus 225. Jasudavicius plus 190. Fight goes to decision, minus 350. DraftKings salaries. Fiorot is 8,900. Jasudavicius is 7,300. Remember that we were talking about Ravena Oliveira being the first person in your cash game lineups? Jasudavicius is right there. Just play the underdog women, similar to Karolina Kowalkiewicz last week. Even though she got knocked out in the third round, she put up a good amount of points. She was live in the fight. I think both women fit the bill here again in terms of just providing some nice cash game safety. And if you really want to mix in, Croden's going to be odds value. So really the underdog women on DraftKings are where you're going to want to be looking to for those cash games. In terms of the straight up fight pick, Fiorot's a motherfucker, man. Like, she is a problem in this division. I know she just lost a decision to Valentina Shevchenko. Super close fight. And other than that, I mean, the way she manhandled Erin Blanchfield, this fight is not as close as these stats indicate. And I'm a Blanchfield fan. I was in the house for this one. That was a fight. That was impressive. Close fights, but not a, good volume against Blanchfield, because Blanchfield was just shooting takedowns, and then things got ugly on the feet. But this is over 5 rounds. Like, I don't know how she's going to score great against Jasmine Jasudavicius, who's a little more dangerous on the feet than Blanchfield, is also bigger. I think is going to be an issue here. And she's going to look for takedowns. Jasudavicius is going to have a problem here, and why I can't pick her straight up is Fiorot. I saw her takedown defense against Blanchfield. She's 87%. Jasudavicius has got better wrestling than Blanchfield, but I don't know if it's going to be enough to take down Manon Ferriot. I can't pick Jasudavicius straight up for that reason. I think she's live. I'm going to want to be at least field weight. So again, this is one where I'm going to pick Fiorot for the fight pick, but the better DraftKings play is Jasmine Jasudavicius for the upside, specifically here with wrestling. If she wins this fight, she's going to end up on the optimal because she got takedown control time and all that for 7,200? Nope, 7,300 is going to pay off dividends, and she's going to have a good one should that happen here. So live for those reasons, especially on DraftKings. All right, let's talk about Marlon Vera and Aiemann Zahabi. Marlon Vera is the underdog. I keep forgetting that. He's plus 110. Zahabi is the favorite at minus 130. It's a close fight. It's pretty much a pick 'em. Fight goes to decision, minus 300. Yeah, that's cool when one fighter is heavily favored and you get some DraftKings value here, but instead, Zahabi's 8,500. Vera is 7,700. Going to straight up tell you, fuck this fight for DraftKings. Vera is a slow starter. Zahabi does not throw high volume like at all, pretty much ever. Just going to shoot takedowns, not super dangerous in terms of the knockout power. Vera, tough to finish, has gone 5 rounds with Sandhagen, O'Malley, 3 rounds against Figueiredo. He's been hit with some shots that I cannot believe have not put him out. He's super tough. Instantly, he's super tough means Aiemann Zahabi's going to score shit, or should score shit. If Zahabi lands a flash knockdown or starts wrestling, look, then I'm going to lose. Just not going to have a good week. You're not going to win every week. Going to put yourself in the best positions, and that is the best strategy. And the best strategy in that regard is to go underweight to Aiemann Zahabi, way underweight. I'm actually going to pick Marlon Vera because I think I'm a little worried about him starting slow, and that we should see the judges in Canada. Yes, those are concerning. But overall, I think Vera's got more impact on his strikes. I'm very worried about the volume here. Has been a slow starter. I don't think he's going to be as uncomfortable striking against Zahabi as he was against Sean O'Malley, Corey Sandhagen. Aiemann can be a little bit awkward. I think a little bit of experience on the Vera side. It's a close fight. I would have lined this as a dead pick'em. I lean towards Vera because I think he's the only one with any DraftKings upside. Then again, neither guy's got a takedown in pretty much forever. I'm really splitting hairs here. I don't think this is my 1-star in terms of fight rating for DraftKings. I want basically nothing to do with this on the DraftKings side, and I'll lean ever so slightly towards Marlon Vera, but it's with like no degree in conviction. I'm not super interested in this fight. These guys don't really excite me. It's not my type of fighter. Now, some guys will love them. I'd rather. There's not enough volume for me to get excited. I'd rather 2 wrestlers go at it. Quite honestly, I'm more excited for Cody, Gibson, Aoriqileng, and definitely Kyle Nelson, Matt Frevola than this fight. But there is a big name. It's a hobby in Canada. I get it. Just not interested for DraftKings. All right, let's go to the co-main event of the evening. Kevin Holland, Mike Malott. Malott, slight favorite. It's basically a pick 'em, but he's minus 115. Holland is minus 105 in this basically pick 'em fight. This is the other one that I think is a high exposure fight in the mid-range. It is also minus 210 to end inside the distance. This is the actual exact mid-range fight as Malott is 8,200. Holland is 8,000. This is Mike Malott's second shot at the upper echelon of this division. He got Neil Magny. Neil Magny does what Neil Magny does, put down a prospect. Then Malott bounced back against Giles and Radke, and here we are against the ever-fighting Kevin Holland. Like, I know Vince. If you know in DFS Army, you know Vince, one of the coaches who puts out notes, and you know he does not like Kevin Holland. But this is going to be this dude's fifth fight in a year. He's rarely in a boring fight, if ever. I find the talking fucking hilarious. You can hate it if you want. Yeah, man. First, four of his fights ended in four of his last six fights have ended in a finish. He did some gnarly things to Gunnar Nelson in that fight. The one boring fight he's been in was against Michael Page. And that's more of a hit on Michael Page, honestly. It's just a Michael Page fight. He went to split decision against the current champ just 2 years ago in Jack Della Maddalena. This is another step up for Mike Malott. Now, I like Kevin Holland. I'm a fan of Kevin Holland. Mike Malott is unproven. We are fighting in his hometown, but I always take, or I try, to take the emotion out of these things. I think this is a bad matchup for Kevin Holland. I'm going to pick against my guy. I have to go with Mike Malott. Now, don't get me twisted. I'm going to be overweight to Kevin Holland too. This is a fight I think goes one of two ways. Either Mike Malott, I think, is going to need takedowns in this fight. He's going to throw big shots, try and get takedowns. Something big lands, or he gets takedowns. If he can't get takedowns, if he doesn't land anything fluky, I think Holland's going to outvolume him. I think Holland is better on the feet. I think Holland is live for a submission too. I do. You know, he's got the Travis Lutter black belt, and we've seen him hit Darce as Anacondas, you know, his active guard against Jacare. Get all of that. Totally. But I think more often the Achilles heel, as we all know with Holland, is that takedown defense. It is 55%. Mike Malott is going to want to shoot, is going to want takedowns here. Yes, he got a decision against, you know, Giles in the feet and, you know, knocked down Radke. But in the other fights, you know, he took down Lainez, he took down Fugit twice, took down Neil Magny 4 times. That's where he's going to have the advantage in this fight. I think it would be a mistake for him to try and stand and trade with Holland. I think that makes Holland live. I think actually makes Holland the favorite in the fight. Give me Mike Malott via grappling and wrestling and kind of use his ground and pound to try and get a finish here. Even if Malott doesn't get a finish at minus 210, he'll spend enough time on top to pay off 8,200. I think stylistically this is a bad matchup for my boy. I'm going to try and be overweight to both. This is one to target both sides of. But again, because of the stylistic matchup, I think Mike Malott and the wrestling are going to get this one done. Main event time. Let's talk Rainier de Ridder and Brendan All-In Allen. Allen stepping in for Anthony Hernandez. Nothing against Allen. I wanted to see Rainier de Ridder and Anthony Hernandez. That was going to be fun. But Allen is a strong grappler too. Minus 200 for de Ridder, plus 170 for Allen. Fight ends inside the distance is still loading. If you're not watching on YouTube, it is minus 260, minus 130 for under 3.5 rounds. So it tells me it's probably not a great fight to stack in cash games. Your DraftKings salaries for this one: Rainier de Ridder is 8,800. Brendan Allen is 7,400. RDR on quite the roll coming over from one. We've talked about all the Bellator people coming in. What about one championship? Beat GM3, beat Kevin Holland, beat Bo Nigel, beat Robert Whittaker. Yes, won via split decision. I do think he won this fight. Was close. Look, Rainier de Ridder is going to want to grapple, take you down, use his size, bully you, right? Nichols going to want to get takedowns and then He was ground and then that put him in the world of DeRitter with submissions. It didn't matter because DeRitter landed some nasty body shots. On the other hand, you got Brendan Allen coming who was 1-2 in his last 3 fights. Won his last fight against Marvin Vettori, lost to the aforementioned Anthony Hernandez. Look, he either gets takedown 6 against Chris Curtis, 2 against Paul Craig, quick knockdown of Bruno Silva that led to his submission. Like, he gets takedown submissions. That is his game. It's a little similar to the RDR fight. I will say that Brendan Allen can also fade. He's been 5 rounds before. If this fight gets late, I would favor Brendan Allen because I have not liked what I've seen from the gas tank of Rainier DeRitter, like at all. I have not liked what I've seen from the gas tank. So I'm going to lean Rainier DeRitter because, again, I think that body work, the clinch work, and on the feet is a little bit, I think he'll be able to bully Brendan Allen on the feet. And Allen, where he's strongest, is the grappling, and DeRitter's BJJ judo kind of cancels that out in my mind. We'll see how it plays out. I think the later this fight goes, the more I would lean towards Allen. But in terms of a straight-up pick, I'm going to go with Rainier DeRitter. This is one that I want to see the ownerships. I think both guys might get a little bit over-owned. Luckily, DeRitter's 8,800. Not a terrible salary for a main event fighter, and Allen, obviously, any win gets him there. This is one where I probably take stands other places. I probably go about field weight on both. I think I agree with the line, but I do think Allen's live to smash the slate. I'd rather take my stands in terms of where I want to get leverage on the field with a overweight on Bekoev, overweight on Dober, underweight on Barlow. And then with the underdogs, I'll take my shot on the overweight on guys like Davey Grant and probably, Jasmine and full fading. I don't see how I play much of any of the Zahabi Vera fight. So that's probably where things will get different, where I'll be different. Overall, for this fight, I can't bring myself to pick Brendan Allen. Is he live? Sure. Again, his strength, I think DeRitter counters it pretty well. So those are the fight picks. Do not go anywhere, though. We are not done yet. Let's see if I can pull up the background here. And let's talk kill shots. If you don't know what a kill shot is, it is an under-owned GPP play that can help you take down a slate. Can't be chalk, can't be a main event. It can be a favorite. It can be the most expensive fighter on the card if you're going to get overweight and they're going to be not highly owned. It's that simple. What can help you win a GPP? I don't care about the salary. I care about winning. I care about money. And I care about not being chalk. It can't be winning that is the same thing that everybody else is going to do. And in that regard, for me, I'm going against the grain. I'm going with the old man like myself. I'm going with the 40-year-old on the road in Canada against Charles Jourdain. Give me dangerous Davey Grant. I don't think a lot of people are going to play him. I think skill for skill, he matches up well. Just one time for the old guys. One time for the old guys, Davey Grant. That is what I am hoping for. Solo episode for you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Do me a favor. Hit the like button. Comment with what your favorite play of the slate is. Share with your friends. Sign up at DFS Army at that link down below if you're not already signed up. If you are in there, I'll see you in the Discord. Good luck. We'll catch you next time.